Hi everyone. It's a rather gloomy day outside, but let's try to make the most of it and remember that all the beautiful fall foliage that you're going to see afterward is because of all this rain, so keep that in mind. So what I wanted to talk today is about the next essay because we are actually starting that this week. And this essay is going to be based upon a theme or topic that you did in your first personal essay. So that's why for this essay we need to really hone in on how we're going to transform it, and I'll explain it right now. So this essay is called Deep Expansion Essay. And what it is it's really crossing the bridge from your personal essay over into a new genre with that same topic that you originally had. Okay? So you're taking your original topic or theme, which was the 3 to 5 page piece you already did, and you're adding, see the plus sign, you're adding a new audience, a new genre of it, and at least one source that's going to help you transform it, and it equals your transformed essay, which is going to be 5 to 6 pages in length in total. So it is longer, it should be more developed, it should be deeper, it should be more expansive, okay? What it's not going to be is a copy-paste of your original piece with some additional paragraphs tacked on. So keep that in mind. If I see that, you're going to have to redo. Okay, this has to be a completely new essay. Now, some of the genres you have to select from for this piece. You could change it to a compare-contrast essay. You could do an argumentative essay. You could do an analytical essay. You could do a speech if you feel that it would be worthy of a speech or it makes sense in that context. You could pretend you're, the president of a college addressing everyone on a certain issue. But remember, it has to be based on your original topic or theme. So that's where I'm going to start talking a little bit about some ideas that some of you did and how you may consider transforming them. Okay, so your personal piece was here and how you would transform into a new genre. So let's say your personal piece was about immigrating to the U.S., okay? Immigration, right? And your experiences with that, with learning a new language or something like that. You may decide to do a compare-contrast with another author that wrote about a similar topic, and you could compare your experiences with their experiences and the way that that author chose to write about it versus the way you did. And you could find the similarities, the differences, things like that. There's a lot of different examples that I could give you if you wanted to start looking. One author that comes to mind is Gloria Anzaldúa, and she wrote Borderlands, and then she wrote How to Tame a Wild Tongue, which is actually an example of how she talked about immigration. And then there was another author, Feroji Duma, in our book, right? And I don't know if when we covered the F word, but the F word is actually really important because she talks about different experiences with language, right? And how she transformed kind of her perspective, right? From feeling like an outsider and how she kind of went back and forth. She was part of the new culture, but she wasn't, right? So there's that kind of back and forth going on. So that was that was the F word. Feroji Duma, I know her last name is Duma. And this was How to Tame a Wild Tongue was Gloria Anzaldúa. Just a couple of examples. You could look at your book. You could select essays from there. You could research. Just run it by me first. That's why we're doing outlining first, so that I can tell you if I think the source will work and if your topic will work. But let's say you did immigration, but you don't want to do a compare-contrast. Maybe you say, I want to do an argumentative piece. I want to argue a point about something. You could do that. You might want to do something analytical. You might want to write a speech. It depends on what you want to do as the author, right? What about if you wrote about a relationship with someone? Your grandparent, a friend, someone very important in your life that impacted you. How might you transform that? Well, let's think about it. One way you might want to do is a compare-contrast, right? It might make sense. Maybe you can look at another author who wrote a piece about someone else and their experience with that person and how it impacted their life. Maybe you want to write an argument about a specific theme that you talked about in that relationship. So for example, one of you in your essays wrote a very powerful piece dealing with dementia, right? Now that's a very poignant, powerful topic, right? So maybe you're not going to write the new essay about the relationship. Maybe you're just taking that element, the aspect of dementia, and you're going to raise awareness about it. And you're not going to talk about the personal stuff, right? But rather, you're going to write maybe an argument or a speech or something like that. I think my cat is here, so you could just wave hi to her. She wants to be part of the class. Let's see. So if you do other relationships, I'm trying to think. Some of you talked about abuse, physical and emotional abuse. Again, very powerful themes and topics. Now, your essay maybe was focused on the relationship that you had, but maybe in your piece now, instead of that, you're going to write, I don't know, a speech, maybe to women, battered women, or something like that. Or maybe you want to do a compare-contrast of someone who wrote an essay about a similar topic to yours, a published author. Or maybe you just want to bring in statistics and you're going to research different statistics about abuse and you're going to do an argumentative piece about it, right? I'm trying to think of some of other of your essay topics. Some of them were fantastic. Then there was, let's see, we also wrote about topics like learning independence through different things that you did, and how you kind of broke away from, you know, your parents' expectation of you and you kind of paved your own way in college, right? So maybe just about college experience, right? So maybe your essay could be a speech for college students, or maybe it could be a compare-contrast. Maybe it could be an analysis, right? And an analytical essay about college. And maybe you want to form a focused thesis such as the college experience, you know, that we hear about isn't always the case. There's some of these positive things that we find, and then there's maybe some of these negative things. And that's the point if you're doing something analytical, right? You analyze both the positive and the negative. You look at both ends of something. That's when you're analyzing, right? So let me just delete this a little bit so I could write the different types of essays and what the formats would be expected of you so that you have an idea of what you're doing. Remember, everyone is still doing 5 to 6 pages regardless of which topic you choose. So, let's see. If we do a compare-contrast, right, what we need to do to make it a deep compare-contrast and not just a surface one is we need to find a powerful thesis, of course, right? And then what we're going to do is for the supports, okay, rather than just naming positives and negatives, comparing, contrasting back and forth, we actually have to find a focus, right? So if you're doing, let's say something has more similarities and only 1 or 2 differences, but the similarities are much more powerful than the differences. You're going to start with the differences because that's not your main point. That's kind of your opening more, right? Then the similarities, because they're the more